Welcome to the exciting and fun world of health communication. This lecture will just go through some of the foundational concepts to get you set up for the course. Sometimes we will refer to science communication in this course, but please remember that health is just part of science. Before we talk about the field of health communication, let's anchor everything here. What even is health? Your health is not just the absence of disease. Your health is your ability to be well, which involves physically, but also involves things like your emotional health or your social health. Our health is holistic, and we need to consider a person's entire health when we're communicating with them and trying to help them make healthier choices. Think for a moment about your own health. Start with your financial health. Are you financially able and comfortable to purchase what you need to take care of yourself? For example, do you need to save money when you're buying food so that you might feel like you sacrifice on nutrition? Or are you able to buy whatever you want to eat that provides nutrition? Or consider your ability to exercise. Are you able to spend money to go to an air-conditioned gym that has all of the different equipment that you want to use? Or do you need to be creative and come up with ways that are low cost or no cost to exercise? The point is that if we're lacking in one area of the wellness wheel, that's likely to interfere with other areas. We need to keep this in mind when we're communicating with others about their own health because everybody has their own wellness wheel. And their particular situation may be interfering with their ability to do behaviors that lead to health. Wellness doesn't occur without action. So the key to your own wellness is your ability to take care of yourself with various actions that fall under these 7 pillars of self-care that every individual needs. The pillars don't stand alone. You need each pillar to achieve wellness. If you neglect one of them, your overall wellness will suffer. The previous slide showed your own self-care, but that's only part of the story. Your ability to be well means that you are able to do self-care, but you don't live in isolation. You live in a system. So you live in a society that may or may not help you achieve these self-care behaviors. For example, your health insurance dictates whether or not you are going to be getting adequate medical care when you need it. Policies that are in place may help you stay healthy. For example, policies might exist in your town that allow you to go for a very safe and wonderful bike ride on the streets, whereas somebody else might live in an environment where it is not safe to exercise, to walk or bike to their place of work. And that would have to do with policy. So there's a lot that goes into our ability to take care of ourselves, and some of it is not necessarily in our control. Health communication is defined as the way we seek, process, and share health information. Take a moment and think about something that inspired you to take an action toward better health. Maybe you watched a food documentary and it inspired you to eat differently, or maybe you follow someone on Instagram that gave you inspiration to start working out. You were inspired by a message, but also you were likely inspired by the way that message was delivered. And that's because good health communication is a science, but it's also an art. And when it's done well, it relies on the evidence from scientific study, but it also uses creativity to be effective. Here's an example of excellent health communication that combines the science with the art form. And this is something called washyourlyrics.com. It was a website created by a 17-year-old. His name is William Gibson. And the idea is this: from the science, we know that people need to wash their hands and they need to do it effectively. So there's a right way to wash your hands. And we also know that just learning the dry basics about washing your hands is probably not enough to get people to actually do the activity. So William had the idea where he created this website. You could put in a song of your choice, And the website would generate this hand washing chart in time to the music. So you could sing along to your song and wash your hands properly. And so this is truly an art form. Here I've got one that was generated using the song Happy by Pharrell Williams. We are all consumers of health communication, but some of us are also creators of health communication. Once you start paying attention to health communication, you see it everywhere. For example, you might be driving to your doctor's office and you might pass a smoking cessation billboard. You turn on talk radio and they might be interviewing a public health expert about the latest flu outbreak. You get to the doctor's office, and while you're waiting, you see brochures on safe sex that you can read, and maybe there's posters hanging on the wall that promote immunizations. You might pull up an app after you leave the doctor's and use it at the grocery store to help you decipher food labels. Maybe later at night you're watching a movie and there's a storyline on the stigma of men receiving mental health counseling. Very likely, the writers of that show worked with health professionals to make sure they got that storyline right. You open your favorite social media platform, and there'll likely be health-related content. Some of it good, some of it not so good. But it really is everywhere. Let's talk about the foundations of good health communication. At the very bottom, the foundation that we stand on is the evidence. Our health communication needs to rely on evidence. And so the base message that we give needs to rely on evidence. That means we need to know, where do we get our evidence and how do we understand that evidence? And then how do we communicate the evidence but also not be boring? And that is where the art comes in. I've got a little hint here. One of the ways you can become a better health communicator is to start watching how the pros do it. There's a lot of health professionals that are actively using social media and doing a great job at communicating health. I have an image here. It's a screenshot from a dietitian. Her name is Samar Kulab, and she goes by Chicago Dietitian on TikTok, and she's got great entertaining videos that are based on evidence. The second piece of good health communication is that we have to know our audience. Effective communication will resonate with the audience and hopefully inspire action. This does not happen by accident. This takes forethought. Who is the audience? What matters to them most? For example, my elderly father is recovering from hip surgery, and his doctor wants him to get some more walking to heal and get stronger. His doctor smartly explained that in order to do what he loves again, which is fishing and boating, he needs to walk 15 minutes 3 times a day to build up his strength. Connecting the health behavior, which is walking in this case, to that audience's top priority, in this case is being able to fish and boat, is what makes the message compelling, and it shows a respect and a knowledge of the audience. So our message must meet the needs and interest of that audience. Our message also must be clear, not confusing. It should be actionable, not fuzzy. It also should be realistic and useful. So we need to figure out what behaviors are most impactful to a person's health and help our audience be inspired to do that behavior. We almost always need to simplify our language. Please note that this is not the same thing as so-called dumbing it down. I dislike that term very much for a few reasons. First, just because someone doesn't know a topic well enough to know its jargon doesn't mean that they're dumb. If you take your car to a mechanic and you know very little about cars, you want the mechanic to speak simply to you about the issue. This doesn't mean that you're dumb. You're just unfamiliar with the jargon of auto mechanics. The second reason I dislike the term dumbing it down is because it's disrespectful to the audience. You won't be able to be helpful to your audience if you start from a foundation of not respecting them. It's important to realize that our communication may not be aimed at the individual. We tend to make this assumption that nutrition communication is aimed at individuals, but that might not be the case. We might need to do other forms of communication to help the individual make better, healthy behaviors in their life. So an example of this is trying to help women be successful at breastfeeding. We can aim our communication at the mother, giving her information on why she might want to breastfeed, what are the health benefits, how to do it. But in reality, even if we convince her to breastfeed her baby, if she lives in a society that does not support breastfeeding, then she's probably not going to be able to be successful. So we can also try to change the system that she lives in. If there are policies, for example, that prevent her from pumping at work, we can work on trying to change those policies. If there are norms that exist in the society she lives in that discourage women from breastfeeding in public, we can try to change those norms. And so we can help her to be successful in other ways beyond just trying to communicate with her. In order to be good at communicating, we have to spend time assessing where we are biased. And so bias is something that we will touch on in this class. I just want you to realize that bias is something that exists for all of us. We all carry implicit bias into our day-to-day life, but we can get better by recognizing our bias and then being open to realizing that we might be acting in relation to that bias. I have an example here. It's a real world example. This was an infographic released by the World Health Organization trying to educate about diabetes, but clearly it was created by somebody who had bias. And so it might have been an intern, I don't know, but they really got attacked by a lot of different health professionals on social media for this because it is a very insensitive picture, and it's also inaccurate. And so causes of diabetes, and then you have this picture of a guy that is, I guess, being sedentary and overeating. And so it implies, just with this one image, it is strongly implying that diabetes is caused exclusively by slovenly behavior, which is not true. And by the way, type 1 is not caused by lifestyle at all. Type 2 can be caused by lifestyle, but there is a strong genetic component that is missing from this infographic. And so this is an example of implicit bias that was not realized by the creators of this infographic, and it was published. So the goal of this class is to help you become a better health communicator. But how do we do that? Well, there are 3 things to focus on to become a better health communicator. The first thing is practice. Communicating well takes practice. And when we are communicating about health, there's the additional process of learning how to find evidence and how to translate that evidence so that it makes sense for the audience that we're talking to. The second step then is to be a constant observer of health communication. Pay attention during your day-to-day life. When you come across a piece of health communication that really resonates with you, pause and reflect. Why do you like that? Why did it resonate with you? What worked? I have an example here on the side. This is a piece of health communication that resonated with me. This is a menu that a woman created, and she's not a health professional that I know of. This was created by a woman who was sick of asking her family, what should we have for dinner this week? So she wanted to create a tool that helped her family meal plan so that they were a little bit more organized on what to buy at the grocery store and what to cook for dinner. And this is how she did it. She created all of her family's favorite dishes, and she put it into a menu format using an existing platform that allowed her to be a little bit creative. So she's got a menu here. And so I love this health communication example because it shows how you can apply creativity to make a task easier and hopefully achieve a goal of helping your family to eat healthier. The third crucial part then of becoming a good health communicator is committing to what is called equity work, reflecting on your own personal bias, but also learning about factors that impact other people's ability to be healthy that might be out of their control. When you do equity work, you learn how to communicate better with individuals, but you also uncover ways that we can improve the system to make it easier for people living within that system to be healthier.